Hey, Amanda. Hey, Panaki. I'll let you guys take it away. Thank you so much.
Hey, Brendan, Christina, thank you so much. Thanks for the warm welcome. We are really exceptionally thrilled to be here. I know we're kind of getting towards the end of the day, so hopefully y'all are still with us and still really engaged. We're really pumped to be a part of this with you. And thank you to ContactMonkey for putting together this amazing virtual event. It's rare to get a whole bunch of comms professionals at this magnitude in one space together on one day, which is a community that we love to be a part of. So as Brendan mentioned, I'm Amanda Todd. I'm the Senior Director of Communications at Expel. Expel, if you're wondering, what the heck is that? We're a cybersecurity company. Doesn't sound sexy, but it actually is very critically important. And we focused on managed detection and response. I was super active in the chat during the AI session being like, what about privacy? What about security? We basically work with companies like yours to protect you from bad people trying to steal your data. I've been at Expel for just over 2 years now. And what's really exciting is I recently expanded my role to encompass public relations, social media, in addition to internal communication. But it's important for y'all to know that the majority of my career has been rooted and singularly dedicated to internal communication. What I believe is that internal communications is the lifeblood of any organization. It is what keeps people aligned and moving in the same direction. What you do is so important. And maybe that's why you're here. I hope it is. I imagine a lot of you showed up today because you're looking for ways to elevate your internal communication strategy, or you want to know how to take your own career to the next level. Whether that be improving your team's impact or expanding your own responsibilities, we're all here because we love internal communication a lot. I think I was in the session on trust a while ago with Advita and Priya, and they said something that I really loved. They said internal comms is integral to business outcomes, and I fully and fundamentally agree with that. This is a party, frankly, I love being a part of. And though I'm here speaking to you today, in actuality, my career in comms only started about 8 years ago. So that's a pretty fast meteoric rise to the position that I'm in today. I've been able to grow in this career because I've been lucky or passionate or scrappy enough to find the right strategies and the tools that make a real impact. And one of those tools is the maturity model that you're here to learn today. What's been really cool lately is it's been humbling, interesting, weird. After my recent role expansion, my promotion, a lot of internal communications professionals that I deeply admire and have followed for years and years have reached out to me to talk to me and pick my brain and ask me how I've made the leap. And I've been both surprised by that, but also it's pointed out something important. It's made me realize that many of us feel like there's a ceiling in the work that we're doing for internal communications. And that's just not true. The potential for the growth in your role in internal communications is huge. If you have the right frameworks, the right passion, the right attitude, and the right things to guide you. And that's what this event really is all about. In particular, this session is about giving you a practical guide that will help elevate your strategy and presence in your current role and beyond. And hopefully by the end of this, you'll have a really clear sense of where your internal comms strategy stands and how you need to elevate it, how you can advance it to use the maturity model framework. So let's get into a little bit of it before I pass over the floor to Panaki. So what you're going to see on the screen, this is important for you guys to pop open in your chat. So you see 6 levels of internal communication on the screen in front of you. You don't have to be familiar with this model yet. You might be familiar with this model, but I want you to read through it and take a look. And based on what you see, drop in the chat where you think your team sits today. So I'm going to read a couple of them out. Oh, I see Liz is here. Liz is on my team. Hi, Liz. Okay, pioneering. Y'all can also say why you think it. Why do you think that that's true? Is it brand new? What is it that's drawing you to that word? Jen Brown says stabilizing. Marie says pioneering. Becky says stabilizing. I see partnering. Brand new function. Interesting. A lot of partnering, which is interesting. And I'm seeing less on flowing, spreading, and centralizing, which is also quite interesting. Cool. Yeah, y'all keep going. I love the diversity that we're seeing here too. It's really great. Okay, so listen, I'll tell you where we are at. And Liz, knowing Liz is on my team, she's here as well. She can kind of confirm where we've been. So we fall into the stabilizing category, which is level 3. And that's pretty good progress from where I started at Expel a couple years ago, but we still have a ton of work to do and a lot of passion behind that. And that's what makes guides like this, like the one you're about to learn, so powerful. What's also very, very interesting to know, which I don't know if we have a global audience, you can also tell us where you're from. This is more centered for the UK or for the US, but there are a few of us that had the opportunity to study internal communication program. Like there are general comms programs in university, there's press, there's PR, there's media relations, there's global. But internal comms is not one that has a ton of programming from a university perspective. So that's interesting. We've basically, that means we've had to kind of figure it out as we've gone. And that's where this maturity framework comes in. It provides clarity on where you are and where you can grow. So I was very lucky to stumble across this framework years ago, and it has made a tremendous impact on how I have approached strategy at every role since then. And I would not be in the role that I am today without it. I've even hired Panaki's company, Local Wisdom, to help further develop strategy at the next company I worked for. I am totally obsessed. I am a big, big fan of this framework, and I'm very excited that I get to share this stage with Panaki. Over the years, he's become stuck with me as a friend. We've gotten to know each other quite well over the years, and to the point where he's asked me to join him for some of these presentations. And now you're stuck with the both of us today. So hopefully it's okay for you. But that's a lot about me. It's enough about me. I'm really excited to hand things over to Panaki Kathiari. He's going to share the story behind this framework and how it can help you take your internal comms to the next level. So Panaki, why don't you take it away?
Thank you. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, ContactMonkey. Thank you, everybody, for just joining. Just so y'all know, while I'm presenting, I can't see the chat. So this is the time to talk crap about me. I'm just kidding. Everyone, my name is Panaki Kathiari. Some fun things you should know about me. I'm the CEO of Local Wisdom. My agency essentially helps comms teams to have the time and headspace to basically focus on what's game-changing for their organization and just avoid being bogged down by the minutia. We want to lift up all of that weight off of your shoulders. I'm also the co-founder of Resource Hero. And that's a software product built on top of Salesforce. It's a way for managers to forecast out their people's time into the future so that we don't burn them out. And also started a podcast with a good friend, Chris Lee, who spoke earlier today on why does it feel so wrong to be human at work. We're basically taking a look at all those little things that are innately human but feel wrong at work. Like why does it feel so wrong to just take time to appreciate each other, or why does it feel so wrong to not have an internal communications program at university in the United States? I know there are some, but we need more coming. What I love most about my job is I get to harness the wisdom from working with clients and attending conferences and seeing other speakers. And I get to take that and transmorph that and turn that into wisdom and resources that I could share with you all. And it's a wonderful feeling. And I'm glad to do that today, especially with you, Amanda, as well. So let's take a trip back into time and travel. We're in 2020. I'm in New Jersey. We're all in lockdown. My wife and I started watching the Netflix show, The Witcher. Pop it on the chat if you've seen it or anything like that. But the show is awesome. So good that I downloaded Witcher 3, the Wild Hunt video game. And also drop in the chat if you played the video game. The video game is awesome. The show is awesome. For anyone who's played it and pop it in the chat, let everybody else know how awesome it is so I'm not the only one saying it. But it's an open world video game. And if you haven't played an open world video game, that's when you're like plopped down into this world. And you do have one overarching goal or objective that you have to complete to beat the game. But you can approach it in so many different ways. And there's so many side quests. So the good thing about open world video games, it's a vast and open terrain. You could do anything you want, and there's a whole bunch of side quests. In fact, talking about The Witcher, Andres, he wrote, it was a book first, and it was such a well-written story and book that I wanted to get the most out of the game. I literally didn't want the game to end, right? But the con is decision fatigue, right? I have a lot of things on my plate. I don't have that much time to play video games, and I wanted to get the most out of the game and its storyline. So what do? I go online and find a strategy guide. I know it's a cheat, yeah, whatever. But I'm like looking at the strategy guide, playing the game, and then an idea hits me. Internal comms is a lot like an open world video game, but there's no strategy guide. So at that moment, I couldn't play anymore. My heart started racing. I put down the controller, pulled out the iPad, and started sketching. I put basically more than 20 years of experience that I've had in the space at the time. And this is the sketch that I came up with. It just maps out like 6 layers of 6 levels, and it talks about certain attributes at each level. So, I went back to work and showed it to my team. They thought that it was cool. So then I put it in a spreadsheet format and started showing clients and other friends in the industry and experts. And they helped give it a little bit more shape, which then motivated me to keep moving it forward. So I ended up launching version 1 on the Internal Comms Pro podcast with Sarah Jackson. That went really well, was taken really well. Rachel Miller wrote a blog post about it. I'll talk about that in a second. And then about a year later, I'm catching up with a good friend and brilliant communication strategist, Kyla Rose Sims. And I was showing her version 2, which now looks like this. And she was like, this is great. But you know what? It would be really cool if there was like a BuzzFeed-like quiz to it. So I was like, that's a brilliant idea. So we launched it with an online assessment, which then gives you a bunch of information after just filling out like 9 multiple choice questions. So it's been really great. Rachel Miller, like I was saying, she wrote a blog post about it. This year, she also came out with a book, Internal Communication Strategy, and she includes the model within the chapter. So it's been a wonderful 4 years now, and I've been honored to hear so many wonderful stories of how people have found value in this, from just getting buy-in from upper management. And we're going to talk about that specifically today, but also how it gives a structured approach for growth, how it helps communicate to other departments. What is it that we do at Internal Communications? And what does good look like? Because as an internal communicator, you could just be in this company without knowing what internal communication looks like at other companies. Thank for conferences like this with ContactMonkey and so. And I really like what Sarah said. It's a secret weapon for internal communication teams. So again, thank you for joining our session. We're going to help you level up your internal communications team maturity. And with all that said, Amanda, let's tell everybody what they're in for here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, let's talk about whose brain works like that. Okay. Because I'm not sitting around watching Netflix or playing video games and going, oh, and getting these lightning bolt ideas. That's a Panaki thing. It's incredible. And I'm so glad that you did that, because when I stumbled across this model, as he said, it kind of started in 2020. I think that I stumbled across this model either late 2020 or early 2021. Maybe it was version 2. And I felt like I had just struck gold. And I was like a genius because I had Googled how to build internal comm strategy, and something comes up. We've all done it. Okay. Let's be real. But it's fascinating and it's great because I really have used this model. I've used it to get investment for newsletter tools. I've used it to argue that we need an intranet and new headcount, which is not a small feat or cost, by the way. I have used it to pull over someone that's on this line right now onto the team, to build out my internal communications team. Truly, at every single company I've ever worked for, I've used this model. So Pinaki, thanks for watching The Witcher. Thanks for being awesome. And thanks for playing video games, because you really are doing us all a service.
We need to thank Henry Cavill.
Yeah, I do thank him regularly. Thank you. Okay, so whether this model is brand new to you or you've seen it before, the new version is incredibly sophisticated. It's been updated. And so for the remainder of today's session, here's what we're going to get into. We're going to give you an overview of the model. We're going to introduce you to the assessment and the accompanying strategy guide, where you can get a whole bunch of tips on how to put this into practice. We're going to end by showing you just one of the many super useful ways to use this model, which is to develop an elevator pitch. And then we're going to be taking your questions at the end, however much time we have left. So if you've got those questions, make sure you're popping up in that chat. I do think I see some questions coming through already, which is great. So Pinaki, why don't you take us through the model?
Excellent. Right on. So the internal comms team maturity model is basically comprised of 6 levels, as I said earlier on. The levels span from like a newly created team with just like a few people, that's all you pioneering folks out there, to a large team that oversees other local communication teams, and that'll be in the centralizing side. And these levels describe the maturity across 8 layers. So it's grown significantly since that sketch that you saw a few slides ago. These layers give you context as to what's in each level and what to do to level up to the next level. And we're going to dig into each one real quick. So layer 1 is a day in the life, and it simply describes what a typical work day is like and what some of the challenges are. So like in level 1, a few passionate pioneers have just managing comms and there's a pandemonium of tactical communications going on with inadequate or non-existent internal comms channels. Around 3 and 4, you reach the stabilizing flowing state, where we reach this kind of interesting balance. And then level 6 is about centralizing. This is where you have an organization with a centralized comms team that supports other local communication teams, right? Layers 3 and 4 are business outcomes and work volume. I think an essential step in building an IC function is setting expectations with those around you, including leadership. So leaders need to understand that internal comms teams need the right support and resources before sustainable business outcomes can be achieved. And at the same time, internal communication teams, they need to understand and acknowledge that they're striving to help the organization reach some kind of quantitative objective, right? And so the overarching goal is to balance the two. So you'll see like in level 1, the team minimally contributes to business outcomes with limited time and resources. In level 2, we have this like surge of work volume because that's where we're getting a lot of our communication channels and our house in order. And then by level 3, we start to see this shift where you start to see the ROI from work volume and business outcomes, and that should continue to grow. Right? Layer 4 is scope. And scope considers your organization's size and circumstance to determine where should you go, right? Because depending on your size and your internal comms scope, you might not need to get to level 6 for your team, right? You can be a corporate team communicating with everybody in the entire company, which might make you want to go to a 5 or a 6 level, but you might also be a team, an internal comms team for a specific area or a specific department. And maybe then like flowing or spreading is the right place for you, right? So the model was built so that you'll have multiple teams in a company, and multiple teams within the company could be in different maturity levels, which all could be okay. Layer 5 is systems. So systems list 10 achievements that you need to achieve in order for an effective and efficient comms function, right? Like in level 1, you'll see the team has like nothing and no systems in place, but by level 6, we have everything in place to move forward. These internal capabilities are ordered in a specific way. They're ordered first to help you go through because they're kind of prerequisites for each other. One of the things we realize, if you kind of like jump ahead without taking care of one of the earlier ones, you might find yourselves going backwards. And that's what we want to avoid. And the systems that you see in this chart, they're all depicted by like 5 status milestones, all going from haven't started it, not available, to, hey, we have it, and then we're adapting and evolving it over time. All right. Layer 6 is skills. Skills identifies just the types of skills you need on your team. And it also identifies how much of that skill you'll need at that team, denoted by these FTE indicators or full-time equivalent indicators. So first thing to note is this is not necessarily employees on your internal comms team. Skills could come from anyone around you that supports you, helps you. Like, for instance, IT might provide support. HR might provide support. You might have a designer from marketing supporting you. They all count to your team. You might have like an agency like Local Wisdom helping out, or interns or contractors, freelancers, they count toward your team, right? And what we see in earlier levels, since we don't have a big team, many people are wearing multiple hats. They're doing multiple skills. They're somewhat generalists. On the other side, as you get to centralizing, you start to see more focus and more specialization. Level 7 is programs. Programs, they list out 10 core initiatives that an internal communications team either must implement or support, right? And similarly, we prioritize these in a way to first, let's come up with the programs that's going to keep everyone safe and compliant. And the next set of programs are to keep people cozy and comfortable. And then the next step is to give them ability to grow and develop within their careers, right? So your internal comms team may not be responsible for all of these, but you should make sure you're involved in them so they don't mess it up. The next and final layer is channels. And channels, communication channels, they're your like intranets, town halls, your email newsletters like ContactMonkey, right? The challenge here is answering the question, what communication channels do I employ for my specific audiences? And that could be daunting, right? Because channels and the order by which you establish them are highly dependent on your audience population or your employee population. For example, an intranet is a good solution for an audience population that might be desk-based workers. However, digital signage might be better for warehouse workers, right? So our maturity model helps you prioritize channels based on your employee population. So you figure out who's the primary audience, what are the primary channels for them, and you kind of build out your system that way. And so that's a quick overview of version 3 of the model. This is the infographic that you're seeing on the screen. And what we have, in order to download it or get access to it, you take the assessment. And this is what the assessment looks like. It's just 13 multiple choice questions. And Amanda, you've taken the assessment maybe a few times, right? Do you want to tell us about it?
You're gonna call me out like that, huh? All right. I see how it is. Yeah, the embarrassing part is, you know, as Pinaki and I have been working through designing these chats and making sure that, one, they're worth your time. We had this laugh fest one day because I said, hey, can y'all go back and look at historical data of how many times someone has like taken the assessment or downloaded the resources? And we were like shocked to see how many times it happened. I think it was like 5, 6, 7 over the course of like not that long a time. So yeah, I mean, this is a well I always keep coming back to. And the assessment is even better than it was when I first found it. So now Panaki and the team have updated the assessment. It's 13 multiple choices, which takes about 5 or 10 minutes to complete. And man, like the amount of information you get now as a result is like, it's crazy. So what you're seeing on your screen is my real results. And this time, this exercise was super jarring because we've been doing this for now some months. And I took this assessment back to my team. I said, hey, I've got the results, but I want y'all to go off in different corners and go take it yourselves so we can see if my vision or like my assessment on what's going on is yours, or am I kind of overcompensating or overblowing where we are at? And what they came back with, without me talking to them about it, was different levels. So it drove this really interesting conversation of where is there misalignment between our team on the progresses that we've made. And so ultimately, the two of them came back and said, no, we got level 3. I was getting level 4. And so I was like, well, clearly, I think that we are doing better than we are. And we have more work to do and investment to move past the stabilizing category. So that's been pretty interesting. What's crazy and really cool about this assessment is here's sort of a rundown of the things it'll give you. First, it gives you the description of the level. So it will tell you in depth, like very defined, and you'll go, oh my gosh, yes, that is how we're operating today. That's great. It'll tell you what level you should strive for. Like the questions will sort of pull that in and it will spit out this generated version of like, here's where we think you could be if you did X, Y, Z. It'll tell you how aligned you are. It'll tell you what channels you should consider that you don't maybe already have, which tend to come with an investment ask, right? So anything that you need to convince an executive always comes with, well, hey, I need this incremental investment and here's why, and here's what it's going to get us. This will help you define that for yourselves. It'll tell you what you should be doing next, like that open source map it's not so unpredictable anymore. It will give you, how many pages is it, Panaki? 30?
Yeah, like 35 pages, the strategy guide.
35 pages of resources, which is insane and amazing. And if you're a nerd like me, you'll read every single one of them. It'll also give you some best practices based on your level. So it will be tailored to which level you're at, for which articles make the most sense for you versus just dumping a whole bunch of information that probably won't matter to you. So, I mean, TLDR, like, it's a pretty powerful tool. It's so crucial that I've used it multiple times, and it works because it shapes internal comms in a way that's really easy to explain, which a lot of times we're having to educate our execs, the people that work around us, on what it is we do here. This really helps give you the language to do that. So not only do you need to take the assessment, that's step one, but you also need to learn how to apply it. Applied learning is really critical. So we thought what would be best is if we gave you a little bit of an outlook on an exercise you can go through that will help you get to use this assessment like right away. So Pinaki, are you going to introduce us to that? Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to walk through an elevator pitch exercise with y'all because that's probably the single best thing we could do to help get buy-in is to learn how to talk and make the ask. So the first thing you want to do before we get to the elevator pitch is to take the assessment. Here's a URL, QR code. We'll probably pop it in the chat as well so you have access to it. And we don't have time to do it now. I'm not asking you to do it now. But it'll help. Here's another QR code. This is our elevator pitch worksheet. And it's a simple fill in the blank worksheet. And we're gonna walk you through it. The URL will also be popped in the chat, so no worries. But I'm gonna walk you through this. When Amanda and I do this in our workshop, live workshop version, we actually have like live pitches and people pitch to each other, and it's pretty fabulous. We won't get a chance to do that. But feel free to connect with us. We'll be happy to help you perfect your pitch and talk about it as well. Mm-hmm. So here's how it works. Essentially, you start like this. You go, you're here like, oh, hey, so-and-so. I really want us to improve. And this is where you list out 1 to 3 business objectives that the organization would like to achieve. And an important tip that I'll mention here in this worksheet is you'll see there's like 3, like 1, 2, and 3 listed here. You'll list 3 just to give yourself some ammo. But when you're giving the pitch, you're only going to talk about 1. You're only going to say 1, and it'll be the most important one, maybe 2. The reason I say don't list them all out is because if you're in your pitch and you start listing things out, they're going to tune out. And also it's going to be so long, it's not going to be an elevator pitch at that point. So we're trying to get through it really fast, right? The next thing is we give them a high-level understanding of where we are and where we want to go. So it's kind of like, the thing is, based on Local Wisdom's internal communications team assessment, our team is currently at a blank, and you put your current place now, and we would make better impact if we were at level blank, right? This is where you fill in the blanks here. Next, we convey where we are with just a little bit more color. So you see the good news is, and then you list 1 or 3 things that are positive about your current situation, but what our team struggles with, and then you list a few things that we struggle with. And remember, we're only going to say like 1 or 2 when we're actually giving the pitch. After that, you state how you would take action, and you want to say, I'll move this forward by, and here you're stating very exactly and in a very concise way what you would do. And I'm going to pause for a second. About this time in your pitch, you're getting very nervous, and you're starting to feel your heart rate go up. And when we're nervous, especially when we're good communicators, we like to add words. So I say, do not say words like maybe, kind of, or I believe that. Sorry, Amanda, did you say something or?
No, just agreeing with you.
Oh, right on. Yeah. So avoid words that'll make you not seem as confident right there, because when Amanda and I are doing this, these are all notes from when we hear other people give their pitch during our workshop. So the next, you ask for something. And you're going to ask again in a very concise way. So here's where you say, so here's my ask, and then you say it. And another important pro tip, this is when you ask your question and shut the F up. This is very important because it's one of the best sales advice that I've gotten. Actually, my brother gave it to me when I was buying my first house. I had to drop the number of which my purchase price. But the reason is anything you say after your ask is going to be something that they can use to object, right? You're giving them ammunition to come back to you at. So we don't say anything, we ask and we shut up so we give them a chance to respond back, right? And then finally, we do have an area, this is an optional area, where you could combat objections if they came up. Like if they say, yeah, no, I'm busy, we can't do that. You could say something like, well, because if we don't make this change, here's what's going to happen. And it's going to be a bad thing. So this is where you list 1 or 3 things, but you're going to talk about the most important one. And essentially, that's the framework for an elevator pitch that we've created. I want to make sure this makes sense to y'all. You know what? Maybe we take it from the top. Amanda, do you want to give your pitch? You can pitch me.
Let's do it. This is a real life case study. Like this is something I'm currently asking for at my own company. So if I can't do it, then we have a problem. So this is a real life pitch. It cannot be possibly more real. I'm speaking to my exec leadership about this right now. So here's what it sounds like from the top. Hey, Panaki, how's it going today?
Good.
Hey, listen, I know you're really busy, but we've set out some objectives for next year, and I really want to help Expel cast a bigger shadow in the market that we compete with. And based on Local Wisdom's internal comms team assessment, our internal comms team is only at a level 3, and we can make a much, much better impact to that initiative if we were at a level 5. It's going to need some investment. But here's some good news. Our employees are really passionate about our product and the values that it brings to our customers. They love our mission. But what we really struggle with is connecting the dots between the value and how our employees can actively reinforce our brand externally. Continued investments into internal comms are critical to help us bridge that gap. I'd really love to move this forward by bringing in Local Wisdom as an agency to act as an extension of our internal communications team. So here's my ask. Can I have your approval to move this forward by just getting some cost estimates so we can see what it comes back with?
You know, it's so hard for me to say no, but for the purposes of this exercise, I'm going to say, Amanda, no, you know, we're super busy. It's like fourth quarter. We don't have time for this.
Oh, I don't take kindly to the answer no. But listen, Panaki, let me take this back for you a little bit. If we can't turn our own people who work here into fans, what chance do we have doing that in the market? Right now, we only have one person that's dedicated to building alignment and brand advocacy from within. Imagine the impact we could make with more support, turning our employees into engaged advocates who amplify our brand and boost market presence. This isn't just about morale. It's about staying competitive. And if you don't invest here, we risk falling behind competitors who are fully leveraging their teams to drive growth. Is that a risk that you really want to accept?
Well, you put it like that. Damn, that is kind of scary. And so, yeah, go ahead. And thank you for looking out for us, Amanda. How is that, everybody? How is that, everybody? Well,
I see. Yeah. She deserves a yes. And you're right. I do.
Yeah. We all want to hire you to give our pitch for us, in fact.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to help anyone who needs to do that. We are always. That's why we're going to put up some, here's how you connect with us later. But we still have a few minutes. I think we have 4 minutes before they pull us off the stage, Panaki.
Yeah.
And I really want to get to some questions.
Awesome.
So what do you think about this? I'm gonna launch this one over to you. So the first question we have up there is, what advice do you have for a team of one trying to launch an internal communication strategy at a company who has not previously had one?
Yeah, I would say as part of your communication strategy, you should have something that says, I need to be a team of more than one. That's
not a team, right?
That's a strategy, because your internal comms strategy, it is, you need an internal comms team. Unless you're like a really small company, it can be handled by one, but we're Local Wisdom. We're about like 35 people. And I do have one internal communicator, and one person can handle it here, especially with the help of others. But as that grows, it gets incredibly more and more difficult to manage. So I would say take the assessment and put needing more resources in your strategy.
And I would also say track your progress, especially if you don't, if this is new, then you need to figure out a way to package up what you've done to show how it's made an impact, because that's how growth is going to happen, right? So you can use a model like this to say, you know, we've been in this phase, we've done this thing, we've launched these new channels, and we're having this amount of progress. We're getting this amount of reach. We've seen our employee surveys have gone up, you know, in employee satisfaction. We can attribute that to XYZ. Execs love data, and they're not going to know immediately how to work with internal communication. So make sure you're staying close to the progress that you're making as you're making it, and be able to report that back. Yeah.
One last quick thing I'll say, because Amanda mentioned data. If you're not doing it already, keep a log of just the things that you're doing, like even on the high level projects, just to see how big and massive that is, right? Because they're like, here's what I'm handling right now. If we had more people, we could increase this, or I could, you know, so it's, even arm yourself with your own data.
Yeah. I'm going to ask, we don't have that much time left. I think we have 90 seconds, but I'm going to kind of combine two questions together.
Yeah.
Gail is going, which one do I put on the stage? It's about channels. So the question is, do you use the same channels for Gen X as you do Gen Z and millennials? And then how many channels is too many channels? Like, maybe we can answer that together.
Yeah, that's a good one. My background is user experience design, so I'm always kind of akin to trying to find the best channel for the right person. Even though the world is work, we want people to come to the channel, want to come to the channel, and be good for the channel. So I do think that it might make sense to have two different channels for both, if they really need to consume in a different way. But I'm also a fan of efficiency, so I'd think about things about automation and integration and things like that as well. Amanda, you have a take on it?
Yeah, I do. My take is, yes, you should be tailoring. People consume different information at different times. We call this flood the channels. So you should be using digital signage, and you should be using different things, but you should use the same message for each channel. So that's important. The second point I'll make before we get pulled off is, you need as many channels as your company needs, right? So it could be, 10 channels. I tend to think that the sweet spot is between 3 and 5. So that's my simple answer for that.
My last thing I'll say is, like, too many channels is when things get too confusing. Like, where do I go for what? And I can't find it anymore.
Okay, I think that ContactMonkey's saying that we can follow up. And if y'all have specific questions about career growth, connect with us. We love to talk to you anytime. I take coffee calls all the time. Please reach out to us, connect with us on LinkedIn. But it's been an absolute pleasure being with you today. Thanks for listening, tuning in. And Pinaki, thanks for having me, man. You're just the best.
Thank you. You rock, Amanda. Thank you all. Thank you, ContactMonkey. Back.
Welcome back one more time. That was really interesting. I actually love structured assessments and insights to apply. So thank you very much for sharing your resources, Amanda and Pinaki. Audience members, don't forget about the poll that's launching now. We're asking for your feedback, so please share your thoughts.
All right. Please welcome our presenter, Katie Rezick, account executive at ContactMonkey, who will walk us through our platform. Do you love our platform?
I love ContactMonkey.
Okay, great, beautiful. Well, Katie's going to run us through a nice demo, and we want to be able to have you all engaged, and we welcome Katie.
Yeah, we welcome Katie, but yeah, this is all about you learning how to use ContactMonkey to achieve results at your organization. So Katie, over to you.
Nice.